Oh, look at this. On the run. Interesting sight. They must have had some really, really bad motherfuckers go after them. Interesting. Okay, let's see. The thing is, he can play his own theme as well. Just like Ramo, that look he had on his face around the time Neferpito showed up. Ah, okay. Sucks for you, Haiga-sama. This man already knows, right? He's got that thing. Can't quite... Yeah, it's not quite him reading your thoughts, but, you know, I got a big old showcase of it on his first appearance, right? He could pick up Neferpito's intentions, right? Loosely. So I'm sure he's kind of picked up on Haiga-sama's play, because there appears to be a play. Oh yeah, beautiful backgrounds. In the still of the night, they sneak in. I mean, this is Killua in his element, right? Sneaking around. Okay. And so it begins. Yeah, a lot of incentive there. Yeah, they pay the price.
テレビで大嘘のニュース流すし、各国からの経済援助は弱者に渡らず、全部車と宝石、ミサイルに変わる仕組み。東ゴル島への経済支援市場、最大額を引き出すための交渉の切り札。
Yeah, Gon's not a fan of exposition, is he?
金でしてるって話だし。でもよく知ってるね、キルアは。兄貴の受け売り。兄貴は多分じいちゃんの受け売り。じいちゃん？ああ。昔仕事で同じように。
Perfect. There it is. Confirmation. It is meant to be Zeno, right? This is Killua's upbringing, his education, his training, all kind of coming into play now, right? Beautiful stuff, though. Look at this. Look at him go. Oh. Yeah, bodies got dragged out. Ugh. Oh. Let's see how Gon reacts to this.
町や村の人間がある日突然一斉にいなくなっても不自然じゃない状況。選別はもう始まってる。
Look at this.
村単位、町単位で少しずつ処理していった方がいい。
Who's a strategist?
問題なのは連絡が取れなくなって離れた家族や仕事の仲間なんかが騒ぎ出すこと。首都のペイジンは領土南東の端にある。遠い地域から順に選別していけばいい算段。
Look at Killua, man.
でも、よく考えたら500万人を殴って回るわけだよね、国中を。
Yeah, you need a lot of foot soldiers for that, right?
いくら10日、いや、あと9日あるとしても、500万人を期間内に選別しようとしたら、選別する方もすごい人数がいるはずでしょ。1人の能力者が10日間、1万人の国民を選別したとして。
Don't bother, don't bother.
500人。そうそう。念能力を持つ兵隊ありがそんなにたくさんいるはずがないって。
Yeah, yeah.
選別者が念能力を使えなくても別にいいんだ。なんで？操ればいい。
Ooh, that's not the greatest musical choice to make in this scene. Kind of bizarre, actually.
単純なオート操作もできるし、ゲンスルーみたく相当数の人間を同時に動かせるはず。普通の人間でもオーラは出ているから、それを利用して強制的に拳へオーラを集中させて選別対象者を殴れば容易に5万人の即席軍隊ができる。495万の屍の上にな。
That's, yeah, kind of an insane number. This should be interesting.
騒ぎを起こして奴らの選別を中断さ
Ooh,
せる。
causing a commotion, eh, Kill?
選別中に俺たちが出てって操られている奴を取り押さえて騒動を誘発。
But there's a high risk of potentially being sighted or being
難を
caught.
逃れた連中が他の町や村の様子を見に行くように仕向けるだけでいい。動けば多分すぐバレる。じいさんの計画を実行するには潜伏してた方が絶対に有利だぞ。どうする？やろう。選別がすでに始まってるなら黙って様子を見てるなんて無理だよ。ただし俺一人でな。お前は潜め。なんでさ、だって二人の方が絶対大事な目的を忘れんだ。あいつを倒すんだろ。
Defeating?
それだけを考えろ。それにお前には悪いが、俺は俺一人の方がやりやすい。わかったよ。本当か？本当にわかったのかよ。
Ooh, look at this. Much more assertive now.
約束しろよ。絶対に動くな。たとえ目の前で何人人間が殺されてもだ。約束しろ。
Kite made him make a promise as well, right? He didn't actually say anything, but that's still a bit of a mystery how the phones are functioning here. Their phones. Yeah, he is, but I like it. I like it. Much more assertive now. Oh, they're being watched. Who is this? Ooh, okay, someone on... Okay. Ooh. He's got a good read on Killua. You don't want to be left alone with Gon either. Ah, yes. I love this guy. Interesting. Yes. The hell is this? They've got taste. Ah.
すでに懇意の政治家たちの快諾をもらい、必要な書類も揃っています。あとはあなたがその書面にサインする。
Quite the diplomatic approach.
ただ、
Quite professional.
あなたの持つ軍部情報などの全面提供が不可欠条件となります。全部話すよ。話す。
Digo. I mean, Digo's long gone. Good riddance, but... Look at this.
奴と来たか。まるで他人事だな。てめえが今手にしている酒も眺めも、奴の尻馬に乗ったおこぼれじゃねえかよ。奴じゃなく我々だろうが怖くと。
His true thoughts, but nope.
やがってるよ。ビジネスはビジネスだ。
It's interesting. Ooh, okay. Let's come back to... Oh yeah, this is exactly the point I was about to make. Checking in on all the different pairs.
すでに49万5000人の人間が殺されてるんだぞ。なんでてめえは落ち着いてられるんだ。ここで冷静さを失えば、何十億って人間が死ぬからだ。
A necessary evil.
計画が失敗すればみんな死ぬ。護衛軍の3匹を王から離さなきゃ、いかに会長でも王を倒せない。そのためにも、事前に俺たちの存在が奴らに知られるのは絶対にまずい。今まで以上に王の警護が厳重になるに決まってる。
Yeah, that's why it's a little bit.
こらえろ。
全人類のため500万人を見捨てるつんだな。
そうだ。
Something like that, yeah.
俺たちでできることだけやろう。その代わり全力で。命をかけてだ。
I'm glad Knuckles got a Killua as well. Or shoot in this case. They are meant to be a bit of a mirror to Gon and Killua's dynamic, right? That's been clear since their introduction. But it's great to kind of check in on the 3 different pairings and the levels of experience.
少し変だったけど。
Yeah,
やっぱり
okay.
一緒にいた方が良かったんじゃないかな。
No, I like Killua's new approach. I mean, it makes sense. Why exactly? Oh. Yeah, he was kind of sitting in the open. A genie snake? Explains his ability. Hold on a sec. Gon didn't make any attempt to dodge that. I'm crushing you.
ヘビの遺伝子を継いでるみたいだから。
Heavy.
最悪10日くらい接触しても
Interesting.
死にはしないと思うけど。
Interesting.
思った通り
So is this.
強いな。だがもう少し観察が必要か。
There could be something interesting that could happen here. If they actually kind of get to talk?
すでに選別が終わっている場所なのに兵隊がいるなんて。
Ooh. Oh. Yeah, I wasn't expecting like completely new ants showing up at this point.
今度は2匹。
You'll be impressed, most likely. Still,
に乗じてゴンに襲いかかるキメラアントたち。そしてそのゴンを追うメデオロンの目的とは。
Meloron. Okay, episode 98. Look at that. Just a couple from triple digits. Hey, how about that? But, you know, of course, I think it's kind of clear that this is not the most memorable episode, right? Certainly in comparison to a lot of the recent episodes. Though, you know, I'm not going to compare it to the last 2 episodes. You know, the Phantom Troop episodes are kind of like in a pocket. I'm not comparing this to that, right, in terms of pacing and all of that. But, you know, it's the type of episode that is required from time to time. They're set up for a lot of interesting connotations and how specific characters are going to handle it, right? I get to look at all the different pairs. You know, the only one missing is Palm, right? Who doesn't join them in that, you know, fancy hotel as they address this, you know, rat, this informant, and they show him that they can get him out of there. And yeah, you know, there you kind of get a good look at that, right? You see that both Nav and Moro, at least on the surface level, keep it quite professional, right? They're being professional hunters. Though, you know, they gave us a bit of insight, right? Some of the inner thoughts of Moro, right? Being disgusted by this man, right? Acting as if he had no part in this, right? That you know, he should be able to just kind of detach himself from everything that the late Digo, you know, did as far as atrocities. But this Marcos fellow, he certainly took part. He certainly benefited, right? Most definitely benefited. But yeah, you know, this is the requirement, right? They've got to be professional. They've got to, you know, just get this done, get as much information as possible, you know, kind of reiterating Killua's stance as well. You know, the more data they have, the better they'll be at handling a situation or assessing a situation. And I mean, he assesses quite a bit in this episode. I mean, he's a bit of a star in this episode. He's a standout, right? Everything that he knows, everything that he's learned, and his upbringing and all of that, you know, it certainly comes into play here, right? And he really excels. He does. Again, you know, he's had years and years of training in this kind of thing, So yeah, at this point, all of that is kind of coming in quite handy. It's quite clutch, isn't it? So yeah, it's an impressive showing for Killua, right? But also, beyond that aspect of it, it's a bit of a different side of Killua, right? Gon noticed as well. Gon, around the time he finds him by himself a little bit later on, munching on that little fruit before he gets jumped by the genie-looking snake. And then, of course, a little bit after that encounter, it's a bit of a step up. There's two of them, and these ones can fly, right? So I'll kind of come back to my point about Gon noticing Killua. Let me kind of just, finish off on this tangent. So, at one point near the conclusion, Gon's thinking to himself, how come there's Chimera ant soldiers in this area, right? Even though clearly they've hit this area already. So it is something that's a little bit interesting, isn't it? So, my take on this is that, okay, if these ants showed up here, it's because they've been, I don't know, summoned or they've been sent here, right? They've been given a heads up, okay, head there. These two, or at least this one, is there. So given the fact that Meloaron is on his tail, right, taking an interest in both Gon and Killua, though, he decides to go after Gon first, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of assume, okay, these might be his Chimera ant soldiers, right, under his command, perhaps, possibly. It just kind of makes sense, in terms of how I played out. First, you've got the one Chimera ant soldier going after Gon, and then right after, it's kind of like, okay, this is the next step up. Now there's two flying ones, right, on your tail all of a sudden, right after as well, right? And they had no reason to be here. But you have to go a little bit further back as well. How come Meloaron is here in the first place as well, right? And how come Meloaron is, tracking Gon and Killua, right? As they snuck in. So there's something interesting going on here, for sure, right? And I'm excited because I really, really enjoy this character. And like I said, if Gon can actually speak with this Chimera ant, there's a lot of possibilities here, a lot of interesting possibilities, right? At the least, it's the type of Chimera ant that is just so likable, right? He's just so chill and likable. Out of the two that could possibly, kind of change Gon's perception of Chimera ants, he'd be one of them for sure, I think, alongside someone like Colt. So, of course, I'm really quite excited about that potential conversation that could happen, right? I'm certainly hoping for that. I really hope that happens. And, this is one of the reasons I do not mind Gon and Killua splitting up, because it gives you, these types of situations, the potential for these types of situations, right? Now, Gon and Killua coming across someone like Meloaron is one thing, but Gon coming across Meloaron, or, more specifically getting to talk to him and kind of getting to know him a bit, it's two different situations. It just is, right? So Gon getting to speak to him, that could be something really quite fascinating. And listen, all that time ago near the beginning of this arc, I think I mentioned something about, or I speculated something about, okay, Gon is the type of person that you can definitely see befriending a nice Chimera ant. I just really hope they get to talk, that could be really interesting, and just beyond it being interesting, it'd be so much fun. But then also let's kind of stay on the topic and, kind of look at the approach, right? Realistically, he should have just gone back to the king immediately, or, reported back to, some of the guards, or one of the guards, the royal guards. But he doesn't. He decides to, follow Gon for, Gon and Killua together at first, then Gon, right? To observe, right? And he decides that he's going to continue to do so, right? I mean, if he's to go back right now and tell the king about it, and that would most definitely mess up some of the plans, right? That's one of the reasons it is kind of risky for, even Killua's plan to disrupt some of this. But, the thing is, sooner or later, at least Neferpitou is going to know, right? Most likely, almost immediately, if, Killua is indeed successful in taking out these puppet soldiers, essentially. Because I'm guessing the moment they're taken out, Neferpitou's going to know almost instantly, right? It's her Nen ability essentially controlling them. So she'll know soon enough anyways. But since I am on the topic at the moment, there's a few other Chimera ants that reappear, right? Or, kind of run back. Haiga-sama and his two sidekicks, right? It's quite the sight to see them on the run, especially Haiga on the run. I mean, they begin the episode by telling us that, now the Hunter Association is all in terms of, trying to take care of this, right? Stepping in now. I mean, they've been at it, behind the scenes for some time now, but now in official capacity, right? But again, now, just now they're beginning to kind of send people out to address some of these other Chimera ant sightings, right? Beyond the extermination squad, from the looks of it. And from the looks of it, they've sent out some really fantastic hunters, formidable hunters that, that have people like Haiga-sama and his sidekicks on the run. So now, they find themselves back in the service of the royal guard and the king, right? But, like I said, I don't think they're about to surprise Shawapu for anything, because at first, I was certainly a little bit shocked that, oh, look at Haiga, man. Look at him running back, tail between his legs, and, now being subservient once again, right? It was a surprising sight, but, I just kind of felt that, okay, he understands the latter once again, right? Much like Ramon, right before, or, right as Neferpito makes her entrance in that episode, right? Falls right in line, doesn't he? I thought it's maybe bit of a similar situation, but then you see that, okay, Haiga's got some kind of plan up his sleeve, right, to make a play, right? I mean, it's just so silly, right, that they think they can do anything here, in terms of potentially taking over or trying to kill the royal guard or anything. Because first of all, that idea, that notion, any potential play is dead on arrival, because you've got Shawapu, who can kind of understand their intentions. He can probably already pick up, or he has picked up, Haiga's intentions, right? Kind of going back to him picking up Neferpito's intentions. Really similar to reading her mind, but not quite. But also, speaking of Neferpito, Gon and Killua's opponent or target, or mission, the main mission, as Killua reminds Gon, do not forget the main mission, right? To defeat our opponent, or to defeat that Chimera ant. Now, this kind of deviates a bit from the established task at hand, right? To distract them, to draw their attention away from the king, right? But here, Killua's using that really specific terminology to defeat. So yeah, something interesting. Maybe it's not that big of a deal. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But, up until this point, I thought, okay, they're not asking anyone to actually kill them. Certainly not asking Gon and Killua to go out there and kill Neferpito. But yeah, the term being used here is defeat, right? And the thing is, Killua is asking Gon to focus on that. And only that, instead of having his mind kind of linger on all of this death and all of the imminent death. I mean, these are mass killings at this point, right? And, at some point, it's about to become a massive genocide, essentially, right? I mean, it's the systematic destruction of close to 5 million people. So, this episode certainly does a good job of, establishing or, maybe reiterating the stakes, right? The stakes are high, but the thing is, as Knuckle and Chew kind of have their, conversation about this, the thing is, this is almost kind of like a calculated approach, calculated understanding, essentially, that, in order to execute their plan, they're going to have to overlook a lot of this death, right? A lot of it. And the thing is, if you go all the way to the top, the chairman, right, the old man's plan and all of that, of course, the chairman knows there is going to be a certain amount of death that they have to overlook and accept, right, for the greater good. And this is the point that Shoot makes as well, right? Because Knuckle is really uneasy about the whole thing. Because, understandably, it is a struggle for Knuckle, isn't it? To just kind of sit there and let all of this play out until it's time for them to actually step out. It's a tough ask. It really is. But to kind of go back and finish up on Meloaron, the narrator essentially kind of makes it clear, right, that, there's something interesting going on here, because the narrator is posing the question by the end of the episode, right? How come Meloaron is following Gon? And earlier I mentioned how impressive Killua is, right, in this moment. in this situation, right? Just his upbringing, his training, his education, his connections and all of that, right? He brings up his brother. And then, of course, he tells Gon that, his brother might have learned from Grandpa Zeno. And there's official confirmation that Zeno actually infiltrated this country once upon a time, right? On a job, on a gig. So, to me, that feels like, okay, right? The person that that the chairman is speaking of, right? My acquaintance, it's got to be Zeno, right? This almost kind of locks it in, because if Zeno wasn't already a potential asset, now, knowing this, that he's been here before, he's infiltrated before, that's just insane, right? To have that, someone like Zeno having that, experience as well. So if indeed it does end up being Zeno, his input, his part in this could be crucial, given his experiences infiltrating this country, right? So, I mean, that right there is really quite exciting as well, right? That setup. But, let's kind of go back to Killua and his new approach with Gon, right? A few things are really quite clear, right? He's much more assertive and, he's kind of guarded as well, right? I mean, at this point, he's straight up just asking Gon, right? Do you truly understand? This is, of course, based on all of these experiences leading up to this and how Gon behaves and reacted to certain situations and, certain plans, and throwing those plans out the window on multiple occasions, right? Now Killua is more about, making sure that Gon understands, and, he's asking for assurances here, right? Promise me. Of course, Gon doesn't actually verbally say anything, right? And I've kind of seen that before, back around the time Kite asked him to make a promise as well, right? Again, I always kind of think about Gon in these types of moments. I wasn't thinking about Killua. I knew Killua is going to, live up to that promise. If need be, he'll get out of there. And then, of course, in addition to that, Killua is quite protective now, right? Even more so. Hell, you could even say he's overprotective, right? He's got those tendencies at this point. Listen, he's seen some things recently, right? Gon's reactions to things, his behavior, right? His his headspace, his mental state after seeing some things, so yeah. Killua knows he's Gon's tether. And then, of course, if anyone didn't realize that this is kind of essentially a take on North Korea, they made it crystal clear. I mean, they made it a little too clear. It goes into so much detail, right? And similarities and all of that. But yeah, that's pretty clear at this point, for everyone. But yeah, I think that should do it for this one, folks. Again, perhaps not the most memorable, but it's quite a functional episode, quite a necessary episode. And I do think there's a few interesting things that came out of it as well in terms of setup for the next, next couple of episodes as well, right? Some exciting stuff possibly. So yeah, if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in early access or, timer-based full length or full opacity, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel as well in the process. There's also links to social media if that's your thing. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for the next one. Until then, take it easy.